Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a pair of Mokume Gane hoop earrings from polymer clay. To start off with, we're going to be making that Mokume Gane, and we're going to be doing that in a couple of layers. The first layer is going to require a couple of colours. Feel free to use any colours you want, but these are the ones I'm using. These are Primo polymer clay in 18 karat gold, ultramarine blue, forest green, teal and pearl white. Again, feel free to swap these ones out with whatever you want. From here, I'm just going to take those colours and I'm just going to bundle them together, and we're going to be chopping that up to make each of these pieces a bit smaller, and just chop those into nice fine pieces. And that should just about do. Then just kind of redisperse the pieces so that you've got a little bit more even dispersion of each of the colours. Bundle that back up again into one piece of clay. And we're going to be creating a marble, so if you choose to use different colours, I just would advise going with colours that will mix well together, because there is going to be some cross mixing between these colours. So I wouldn't mix colours together that would end up making kind of a muddy brown colour. And I'm just going to flatten this out. Because I want to take this and I want to chop and stack it. And just press in these edges so that you form something that's a little bit more put together. Then I'm going to chop that. You can see there those colours. And I'm just going to stack that, and I'm going to chop it again twice. And don't worry about this being perfect. You just want to stack them together. And I apologise for the noise outside. It's storming, so there's going to be a little bit of wind noise today. There we go. And then once you've got that, I want you to chop that into relatively thick slices, about 1 millimeter thick, roughly, give or take. Does not need to be perfect. And then just pop them together into one veneer. There we go. And then you're just going to roll that together so that it's all stuck together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it in the direction of the lines, and we're going to be making a marble. You're just going to stretch that out and use your pasta machine. If you have one, it will make this a lot quicker and easier, but you can do it by hand. You just roll and fold it and roll and fold it, and you continue doing that, and you'll find that the colours will start to mix together and create a really nice marbled pattern. There we go. And then fold again and repeat until you like what it looks like. And here is how that's ended up looking. You can see it's got a really nice effect to it. And this on its own is actually quite nice, but this is going to be the base of our Mokume Gane. This is about 1.5 millimeters thick at this point. From here, you're going to pop that to the side, and what we're going to do is we are going to work with white polymer clay and black polymer clay. Again, both of these are Primo. These have been rolled out to 0.5 millimeter thick each, and you're going to stack those and just trim away that extra clay, and no waste. You just separate them out like that, and that is how you would separate them out, so don't worry, that's not any waste. There we go. And then you're going to take that and you're going to roll that out again until both of these together are 1 millimeter thick. And there we go. Then you're going to bring over that marble that you had, and you are going to be stacking that black and white on top of your marble, and you want it to be black side facing up. And then just lay that down, make sure that you don't trap any air bubbles when doing that. And then I'll just use my roller to ensure that everything is stuck together well. And then from here you could stamp and make your Mokume Gane, but I want to create a little bit of an extra flash, so I'm going to be using some gold metal leaf as well. This, however, is a step that you can skip if you prefer. But you're just going to take that, and I'm going to apply that to my clay. And then I will fill in those extra areas as well. And there we go. Right, now I have more than enough clay here for my purposes, so I'm actually going to be separating it into 2 pieces. And I'm going to be making those hoop earrings, and then I'm also going to make a separate pair of earrings. But I'm going to be using different Mokume Gane stamps for each. So I'll put this one to the side, work with that a little bit later. And for this one I'm just going to see how much stamp I have. More than enough, so I'll move this to the side. I can always use that separately for something else. I'll just pick that up. Okay, and just smooth that leaf back down. And this is the stamp that I'm going to be using. Let me actually bring that brightness up so you can see. There we go. I'm just going to take that, and this is for our hoop earrings. I'm just going to take this. You're going to place that metal leaf side down. And let me just grab a baby wipe because I don't want this sticking to my fingers. And I'm going to move from one side of this piece up, pressing that clay into my texture stamp. And you can use any texture stamp you want. I'm using one of the ones that I hand carve. It's available on my Etsy store, Jessima Design. There's a link in the description below to my store if you're interested in this or any of the other tools that I have in this tutorial. There we go. And then just give it a roll to really secure that texture. Okay, and then we're just going to lift that up, and just be careful when lifting it up not to rip it all out at once, but it should release because that metal leaf acts as a non-stick surface, and then you can see that pattern. Right, I'll pop that to the side, and I'm going to be making a couple more patterns. I'm going to be using this spiral stamp, and I am going to make about the same amount, so I'm going to trim up this, pop that to the side with the other piece that I have, and I'll be stamping this one, and then I'm also going to use this texture stamp. Same process for all of them though. Alright, and I've done the spiral one, and then for these ones you're just going to take that, and I just want to make it so that those lines are going in the same direction. And then you can just pop them together, and you should be able to get those kind of squished together. You can use a piece of paper to help out with that, and just burnish that together to create one whole piece of clay again that you can then stamp, and that way you don't end up having teeny pieces of Mokume Gane. There we go, and then you would stamp that like normal. Okay. And there we go, I've got all 3 done and dusted and ready to go. And again, it's going to basically be the same process for all of them. I'm going to be using the main one, but I'll show you the results of the others as well. I'm just going to take that, and you're going to use the flat of your palm to press it onto your tile. You want it to stick. Use your fingers to check that it's not going to be moving around, and that will give you a good stable surface to shave. I would recommend a flexible tissue blade. And then from there you're going to be shaving over the surface to get your Mokume Gane. And I'm starting out shallow, and I'll work my way inward to get that blue pattern. And we might end up losing a fair bit of the gold in this pattern just because of the way it is. I actually could have made the black and white a little bit thinner. I think that would have actually been good for this one. But I'll be able to get that pattern. We're just going to end up losing a lot of the gold. But all these little pieces that I'm shaving off, you can end up using those in other projects. I like to use them for backings, so definitely keep all of them. They're not going to go to waste. It's just sometimes they like to stick to your blade. Alright, and once you've kind of gotten a lot of that pattern down, you can start going a little deeper to start exposing the coloured part of the pattern. Just gently going, and you're going to continue until you have gotten the results that you want. And I think we're still going to have some of that gold, it's just going to be less than I planned for. But you're just going to continue, and you can see they're just little bits, little bits at a time to slowly reveal that pattern. There we go. And I've left it so that it's not completely even. I have kind of a patchy effect to it, and I quite like that. I'm then going to just use a piece of paper to burnish that and remove any bumps that may be on the surface. If you want a cleaner effect, I would advise making the black and white just a touch thinner before applying that metal leaf. It can sometimes be a little tricky to get that right. But yeah, generally the thinner, the cleaner you're going to have it. But I actually quite like how this turned out. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to lift that up. And there you can see how that looks. It's quite nice, and we do still have actually quite a bit of that gold, and it gives it a nice flash. Go pop that to the side, and I'm going to show you the other ones. And I'm going to shave those, because I think the shaving process is always quite a bit of fun, because it's always a bit of a reveal. So if you want, you can skip forward in the video. There's not going to be anything new being shown. I'm just going to show what it looks like to shave these guys. And this is a deeper stamp than that one, so hopefully we should end up with a little bit more of that pattern showing up. And again, always go shallower than you think you need to start with, and then go in and correct. And there, I can see that's going to also look quite cool. We're going to have a fair bit more of that blue showing. Sometimes these bits always kind of stick. There we go. And I would advise just cleaning your blade every once in a while if you're finding that it's sticking a lot. There we go. And yeah, this one's going to turn out quite cool as well. I will show you what that looks like once I'm finished there, and then we can do the last one. And there we go. That's how that one looks. Got a lot more gold in that pattern, as well as a fair bit of colour. This has been burnished out, so it's nice and flat. Again, place that to the side, and I will work with this last one. Again, press onto your surface. And this one I should have used a little bit of cornstarch with, because you can see that the stamp there pulled away a little bit. If you are having trouble with your stamps sticking, you can apply cornstarch on top of the metal leaf to ensure that they don't stick in the stamp. And this one I should have a lot of colour show through, because it is a very deep stamp. This one is one that's particularly good for Mokume Gane. And they just kind of remove those pieces. And you can see there that pattern's coming out very nicely. And this is the thing, there's no real one size fits all with a Mokume Gane stack. Depending on the thickness of your texture stamp, you might want layers a little thinner than some others, because this one, if I'd made the black and the white any thinner, I don't think it would have come out as well as it is right here. But that's because it's a fair bit deeper of a texture than the other two that I've shown. So you're going to have to kind of get a feel for it. But generally speaking, the results will be nice either way. And there we go. And I'll just burnish that one out and show you how it looks at the end. Alright, and there we go. That is all of them finished up. And I must say, I really am quite happy with all these little guys. I really do actually quite like that gold flash. It's worked out quite nicely. Alright, and I have decided to make flat earrings out of these two. And this one I think is going to work the best in the tubes because of the way the pattern moves. Might be incorrect about that, but we will see. So we're going to start off with this one over here. And I'm going to be working from this edge here. You're also going to want to grab some of your scraps. This is just some of those little frill pieces that I trimmed off that didn't turn out perfectly, so I didn't save them. This is going to be the core of our tube. So you're just going to take that. I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm just going to roll this out. And I'm going to bring a piercing pin like this. And I'm just going to use that before I wrap it in my actual veneer to just pop a hole through here. So I might actually just squish that back up. I just wanted to make sure that everything was well situated together because you don't want this breaking apart on you. There we go. And you're just going to take that and you're going to just thread that onto a needle. It does not need to be this kind, it can be any kind of tool that allows you to just punch a hole through. Right, and then you're just going to thread that onto the center of that tool. There we go. And then roll that out on the tool to even it out and get a nice clean tube. Just give it a stretch every while. And just try to keep it loose on this tool. You can see here that I can move it around. You want that because we're going to be removing it from this piercing pin a little bit later, so you don't want it stuck on there. And I'm just rolling outwards, thinning this out. And then again, just make sure that everything's nice and loose before applying your main piece, because at any point here you can decide that maybe you ended up not doing it correctly, and you can always just start again because this is the inside area. I'm going to take this, flip it over and cut a straight edge. I'm going to place this down. I'm going to wrap this around. Go. And that will have made a mark, so you're just going to cut on that mark and then roll it up, and that angle at which I cut it should allow me to just fold in that seam without there being a very visible seam. There you go. And this is why I like this pattern, because it's a pretty good continuous pattern. Then I'm going to continue rolling that out. Just stretching it a little bit because it's far too thick at this point. And this is just for one earring. I still need to make another one, and that's what I'll do with the rest of the clay there. And just slowly stretch it out. You can loosen it every once in a while. you go. And then just continue until you feel like it is thin enough. I generally will go with something that's about 2 millimeters in diameter. Okay, and that should just about work. You're then going to spin it off your piercing pin, and it should come off if it's nice and loose. There we go. And that's what we're going to be working with. I'm going to make another one of those quickly. Alright, and I've made the other one. Now I'm going to show you how to create these beads. Now you're going to have this kind of unsightly end. The trick is to cut this off, but if you cut it without any support, you're going to end up flattening it. So what I like to do is pop the pin back in just slightly, and then use that as support to cut off that end without distorting your hole. And then you would repeat that on the other side. Just take that, give it a roll, pop it straight back out again, and there you go. Then I'm going to be using a little metal cutter here. Anything round that is about the diameter of your earring will work. And I'm going to take that, and I am going to be wrapping my tube around that cutter. And this over here should be where I trim it. So again, I'm not going to flatten it out by cutting it. I'm going to pop this back in. There we go. You can use that for other things. And then we're going to take this and we're going to wrap that fully around the cutter. And what this is going to do is just give it a nice circular shape, and that's what we're going to be baking it as. We're going to be baking it in this nice rounded shape. That way when we go to cut it to create our earrings, it's going to fit around our earring wire. Alright, and those are off to the side. We're going to work with our other earrings now. So you're going to grab these, and I'm going to make them double-sided earrings. So I'll flip this over, and we're going to be, let's see, actually I'm going to flip this one over, pop them down on top of one another, and just smooth. There we go. And there's your double-sided piece. And from here you can cut out your earrings, or you could cut out a pendant if you wanted to. And I'm just trimming off of these edges so that these veneers are the exact same size as one another, because I don't want to accidentally cut a piece and not have the full pattern on both sides. Okay. And then I'm going to be using these little oblong cutters to create my earrings. I'm just going to position them around this center point so that the pattern goes around. And I should just have enough space for all of those. And I think that will work. I'm just making sure that it fits properly. Okay. And then cut down. And just make sure you get a good cut. Then lift it up. Remove that. And don't pick them up with your fingers like I was about to. Use your blade to pick them up. That way you don't stretch it. And there we go. We've got ourselves some cute multi-sided pieces. Let me show you what this one looks like. There we go. Alright, and then I'm going to just pop these on a piece of paper. Alright, and there we go. This is now going to get baked for about 40 minutes at Primo's recommended temperature. These two will also be baking alongside it. And I'm baking on a piece of paper so that they don't have any shiny spots from potentially sitting on a ceramic tile in the oven. I always recommend baking on paper. 40 minutes, after that, allow them to cool. We can give them a little bit of a sand and finish everything off. Alright, and here is how they look once they're out of the oven. And from here, we're going to be varnishing them. These ones, if you want, you can give them a sand along their edges. I have given them a very quick sand with a 400 grit just to get rid of any bumps. However, you cannot sand the front or the back if you have used the gold leaf. If you skip the gold leaf, you can, but sanding will remove all of that gold leaf. I'm going to put this to the side, we'll work with them in a moment. For these ones, you're going to want to just use something like a piece of wire or string to just pop that through, and this is so that we can suspend them while I varnish them. And I highly recommend varnishing before cutting them because varnishing each individual piece once they've been cut is a lot more work than just varnishing it as a tube and then cutting them up. And I'm going to be using this Varnishing water-based gloss varnish, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and I'm just going to dip those in all the way up to the edges. I'm not worried about getting it all the way up over those edges. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to suspend that over a drying rack, and you might want to dab the base every once in a little while, like maybe once every 30 seconds or so for the first 2 minutes. And that will give it a nice varnish, and then from there I can show you how to cut these up. And then for these ones, it's relatively simple. I'm just going to be brushing on the varnish, and I'll be brushing a coat onto the front, and then I'll also give it a coat on the back once this first one has dried. That will take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. And once that's done, we can assemble our earrings. There we go, and you just place it on like that. And here it is once it is finished varnishing. I'm quite happy with how that looks. From here, you're going to pop that into the oven for about 5 minutes just to heat it up, and you should find that it makes it much more flexible. Also, Varnishing is heat safe, so you're okay to put that in the oven. And then while it is still warm, you're going to start cutting pieces, and I generally cut off the end pieces there because they're a little uneven, and then you're just going to go over the length and try to keep them in the same order because we're going to be stringing them to keep the pattern continuous, so you want to keep them in the same order. And if it becomes too hard to cut, you can always just pop that back into the oven. But you're just going to cut up that length. I'll just leave that bit over there. And then I'm not going to make the earrings right this second, but what I will do is I'm just going to grab the earring wire in preparation, and I'm going to pop these guys on because I want to see how many of them I need. And I also want to make sure to keep them in the correct order because it's very easy for those to get jogged and spilled, and then they're not all in correct order again, and then you can't actually get them back in order. It's so better to just get them all safely onto a piece of wire or string before you go to actually start assembling out your earrings. Alright, and I think I'm going to leave off one. I have my other one here, and I want there to be a little bit of space, so I think I'm going to end up leaving this piece. Let me just see how much space I have here, and then here's the other one because I want them to be equal. Yeah, so I'm going to leave that piece to the side, and I'll pop those over there, and I'm going to grab some spacer beads. And I'm also going to be working with some cord instead of those wires because I want the earrings to be a little larger than what I have there. So I'm going to use this kind of gold cord here. And I'm going to cut off a length. Go. I've got some spacers here. go. And then I'm just going to grab these and I will pull them off of the wire as I go. And you're just going to hold this and you're going to pop on one spacer. I'm using these kind of open filigree pieces, and then you grab one off of here and you pop that on, and then you're going to go put another spacer on, and then you're going to alternate that pattern over and over again until you've used up all of your beads on this piece. And there we go. Now what we're going to do is I want this to be a circle. So if I were to take this and thread on a bead like this, you can see it becomes kind of more of a teardrop shape, which might be to your liking. So you can absolutely take something like a cord end and pinch it at the top here and create that shape. I have done that in previous videos, but I want this to actually be circular. So the trick to doing that is going to be to grab a crimp bead. Just show that it's a very tiny little piece of metal in the shape of a bead. And you're going to take that and you're going to string it on one thread, and then you're going to go through the opposite way with the other thread. And then you're going to pull that tight, get it as tight as you can, and then you're going to go in with a pair of pliers and you're going to squish that bead flat, and that is going to trap your two cord pieces together. Then what I will do is I'm going to trim these cords. I'm not going to trim them all of the way because I actually am going to take that and thread that through. This is going to take a little bit, but I want to take that and position it so that it goes through my bead there. And then I'm going to do the same for this one, where I will trim it, leaving roughly about 1/2 centimeter of cord length, and then pop it through that spacer bead. And there we go. And then, whoops, then I will press that spacer bead, well not the spacer, the crimp, into the tube hole so that you can't see it anymore. And then that way you have this completely seamless circle. From here you can make earrings. You could make a number of these and link them together to create a bracelet or a necklace. There's lots of ways that you can now use this element to create different projects. But for the earrings, I'm going to take a jump ring, nice little gold jump ring, open that up. I'm going to slot that onto the wire, grab another jump ring, loop that through, close, and then use that secondary jump ring to attach my earring wire. And close. And there we go. Now you have a earring that is nice and flexible. You can see here it is flexible, but it will kind of automatically hang in a circle. And here's the other one that I have made the exact same way. So that's cool. I haven't actually shown that on a video before. But those are how to make the two that I planned at the beginning of the video. As for these ones, they're relatively simple. I'm going to show you how to do those very quickly, and I'm going to go over that quite quickly. And what you're going to do is you're going to use a little handheld pin drill, and you're going to drill either in the center here, in which case it will hang roughly like this, but I want it to hang at an angle, so I'm going to be drilling on the corner here, because I want it to hang with this kind of facing straight down. And you can see that that's quite quick. And the reason I drill after baking is firstly because it means that you will have zero distortion when you go to drill, but it also means that if you use any kind of varnish or resin, you won't have to worry about that clogging up your drill hole, which can happen quite often, especially with resin. So I just find it's less messy to just save the drilling until later. Right, and then once you've got those little holes in place, you're going to grab some jump rings and some ear wires, and you will do the same process as you did with those rings. You're just going to take one of those jump rings, link it through, grab one of the smaller jump rings, close that up, and then use the secondary jump ring to attach your ear wire. And then you would repeat the process with the other earring. And there we go. And now you've got some really cute double-sided earrings, and you can see there that it hangs a little bit better with center of gravity. And that is just about it for today's tutorial. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing, as I do videos like this just about every single day. And so if you like doing polymer clay and learning new things, I'm sure you won't want to miss a single one. If you'd like to support the channel so that I can continue creating videos just like this one, please do consider becoming a member. There's a join button just below this video where you can become a member of the channel and gain access to these videos early, as well as members only exclusive content that isn't available regularly on YouTube. Another way to support the channel is to check out my Etsy store, where I make things such as the silk screens, the texture stamps and the cutters that I used in today's video. That is linked down below on my Etsy store, Jessima Design. There's a number of polymer clay tools and supplies on there, all made by me in studio. But that is just about it. I really do hope that you enjoyed. This one I actually quite enjoyed a lot. It's always nice when the Mokume Gane turns out well. So yeah, definitely have some fun, and I will see you in the next one.